Hello there. Welcome back to my channel. So today I'm doing something a little bit different for me, but for BookTube, BookTok, Bookstagram, it's pretty common, and that's a TBR. So if you don't know what a TBR, I believe it stands for to be read. Now usually a TBR is like a list of books that you want to read, or maybe you have a physical TBR, which is all the books you physically have that you have not read yet. So for today's video, I want to do an August TBR, since August is just a few days away from when I'm filming this. Now, when I say it's new for me, it's because usually when I read, I just pick up whatever book I'm feeling at the moment. And I don't ever have a set list of books that I want to read. So I think that's what's called a mood reader. I'm a little newer to the whole book community. I've read my whole life, but it wasn't until this year that I started getting more into it and like watching videos and now making videos. So I'm a little bit newer to like all the lingo and the jargon that comes with BookTube. So I want to share the 5 books that I picked for my August TBR. I only picked 5 books just because I'm slowly but surely getting out of the book slump, and I don't want to overwhelm myself with more books, and also I don't want to make myself feel pressured into having to do more books just because I see all these other booktubers putting like 20 books on their TBR. So I'm just going to go ahead and get into it and share the 5 books that I have for my August TBR. So the 5 books I have here, 2 of them are from my public library, which I actually have to renew. They're due in a few days and I haven't really been able to read them. The main reason I haven't really been able to read also is because like my mom's coming. She's actually coming today. And I'm trying to get this video filmed so that way I can edit it these next few days and just upload it. But I've been cleaning and tidying up the apartment and everything, so that's why I haven't really been able to read much. And then the other 3 books that I have are my personal books that I have not read yet that I've been wanting to read. So I'm hoping I can actually get through all 5 books, and if I can get through more, hey, I'm not complaining. So the first 2 books from my library, my public library, are Belladonna at Bellstone by Michael Jackson. I'm just going to cover what public library. I don't need you guys knowing where I live. But yeah, this is the first book. And the second book is actually a book that I've seen at Barnes & Noble before. And it's Alice by Christina Henry. And I think it's kind of like a retelling, a creepy retelling of Alice in Wonderland. I'll get to it though. So back to Belladonna at Bellstone. I'm just gonna read what it's about. It's a little lengthy. Mole, a young nun, lies in the infirmary at St. Mary's Priory, Bellstone, having been bled to cure migraine. Left to rest, she is just falling into a doze, smiling as she dreams of her beloved Virgin Mary when she suddenly awakes, realizing in terror that she can't breathe. She is too weak to fight for her life. It's 1321, and Lady Elizabeth of Topsham, Prioress of St. Mary's, is struggling to retain her position in the face of devastating opposition. Not only is St. Mary's in the worst possible state of disrepair due to lack of funds, but Sister Margarita, her treasurer, has accused her of lascivious, every time I see that word, I don't know how to pronounce it, lascivious disregard, claiming that instead of paying for a new roof, Elizabeth has given money to the new vicar, a man she often sees alone at night. Many of the nuns are convinced that Margarita would make a better prioress, especially now it has been confirmed that Mole was murdered on her sickbed. Sir Baldwin Fernhill, keeper of the King's Peace, together with his old friend bailiff Simon Puttock, I don't know, these names are a little different, are summoned immediately by the Bishop of Stapleton's representative to investigate. There is no doubt that the threefold vows of obedience, chastity, and poverty are being broken with alarming frequency. When a second nun is murdered, they face their most difficult case yet. The path to the truth twists and turns with the sinister forces of primitive passions and secret ambitions, finally leading them to a dangerous wolf in sheep's clothing. So it's very interesting. Like, I like the whodunit mystery, but it takes place in the 1300s. I believe the 1300s are the Middle Ages. Correct me if I'm wrong. And I've always liked the Middle Ages, like the era of like the knights and kings and queens and like nuns in a monastery. I've always felt like there's just like a creepy, eerie atmosphere to that time period. It was just like a very dark time, I feel like, in history. So then finding a book that takes place in that time and it's a whodunit mystery, I just feel like I'm really gonna enjoy this book. I'm actually already a few pages in. I'm 30 pages in. Let me see how many chapters. I'm on the 3rd chapter. So I've already gotten to one of the nuns getting murdered. But rereading the synopsis, I didn't realize there's another murder that happens. But anyway, that's the first book. The second book, like I said, is Alice by Christina Henry. So I'll read the back for you. In a warren of crumbling buildings and desperate people called the Old City stands a hospital with cinder block walls that echo the screams of the poor souls inside. In the hospital, there's a woman. Her hair, once blonde, hangs in tangles down her back. She doesn't remember why she's in such a terrible place. Just a tea party long ago and long ears and blood. Then one night, a fire at the hospital gives the woman a chance to escape. She tumbles out of the hole that imprisoned her, leaving her free to uncover the truth about what happened to her all those years ago. Only something else has escaped with her, something dark, something powerful. And to find the truth, she will have to track this beast to the very heart of the Old City, where the rabbit waits for Alice. So yeah, I don't think it's necessarily a retelling of Alice in Wonderland. I think it's more like what happened after everything happened, which I think is really interesting, to make it like she was crazy the whole time, like she wasn't, like it didn't actually happen, and then she gets put into like a psychiatric ward, a institution, a hospital. I don't know, I just find the whole idea of that very interesting, because obviously watching the movie, you would think that something like that is a person hallucinating and everything. So then this author putting that twist to it and making it their own is a very interesting concept. But those are the 2 books that I got from my public library. Now to the 3 books that I have personally, that I own. So the first one is If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. This is a book that I've heard a lot about. It's one of those books that if you want to get into dark academia, this is like the perfect, it's a perfect book to get into it. I'm not really going to read these next few books just because these are pretty popular on BookTube and Instagram and TikTok. But this book is basically about these, I believe, 7 friends in college, and somehow I think one of them gets murdered, and one of the friends in that group gets blamed for it and goes to prison. And then, a decade ago, so I think 10 years later, that person who was framed for the murder of one of the friends is released, and then they're finally, I think, speaking out about what really happened, because I believe they were framed for it and it wasn't actually them, it was someone else. Either they were framed for it or they took the blame, I'm not sure. But it sounds really interesting, and I haven't read the book yet, but it's, here, let me take out this bookmark, because I was actually going to read it recently, then I stopped. But it's in like acts, like if it was a play. I believe all these friends are like theater majors, if I remember correctly. Yeah, 7 young Shakespearean actors in a conservatory. So yes, they're all like theater students, theater kids in college. So the book is set up like Act 1, Act 2, like a play, which I thought that was pretty interesting. All right, next book, my girl, Emily Henry. I've read 2 of her books so far. So the first book I read of hers was Book Lovers. As soon as I finished reading that, first of all, I cried at the end. It was such a good book. Like the romance, the slow burn. She is so good at having 2 love interests have banter, and not in like a cringy, cheesy way, but in a very fun, like teasing, realistic way that people would, like, I think people would actually banter. And it's like flirty too. But yeah, as soon as I finished reading Beach Read, I'm like, yeah, Emily Henry is an author that I'm going to stick with. And then I found out that she was releasing a new book, Happy Place. And I actually, without even meaning to, bought it on the same day that it was released. It is Beach Read by Emily Henry. So this one, I'm just going to read it. The synopsis is pretty short, because I honestly don't really fully remember what this book is about. August Everett is an acclaimed author of literary fiction. January Andrews writes best-selling romance. When she pens A Happily Ever After, he kills off his entire cast. They're polar opposites. In fact, the only thing they have in common is that for the next 3 months, they're living in neighboring beach houses, broke and bogged down with writer's block. Then one hazy evening, one thing leads to another, and they strike a deal designed to force them out of their creative ruts. Augustus will, did I say August before? It's Augustus, if I did say it wrong. Augustus will spend the summer writing something happy, and January will pen the next great American novel. She'll take him on field trips worthy of any rom-com montage, and he'll take her to interview surviving members of backwoods death cult, obviously. Everyone will finish a book and no one will fall in love, really. So I don't know, I just think that's really interesting. One thing about Emily Henry, at least with book lovers and now with this one, books about books and like romance, I think for the most part, those have become my favorite kind of romances. Even though I don't really read romances very often, it's more so this year that I started getting into them. Same thing with Love in Other Words. The two love interests fell in love over their love of books and just their interest in reading. Book Lovers was about an author's agent, right? And then a guy who worked at a publishing agency. Two people who worked very like closely related with books, obviously. And then them falling in love. And now Beach Read is about two authors that swap genres and then they fall in love. So I think the whole genre of book romances about books is just top tier. And now the last one, I believe, is a YA like mystery. I don't know too much about this series, and I believe there's a fourth book of this coming out very soon, and that is The Inheritance Games. So this is the first book. I've heard a lot of really good things about it. So I wanted to try it out. Plus the cover, gorgeous. I think my favorite, like absolute favorite color combo is green and gold. Green's my favorite color, and I think gold just goes so well with it. So seeing the green and gold cover is just so beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Probably one of the prettiest books that I have on my bookshelf, honestly. Besides my really pretty and green Bible. But yeah. So it says here, she came from nothing. They have everything. Let the games begin. So just that alone intrigues me a lot. And the cover too. Like there's so many different aspects, like little hidden things. I'm assuming each object here relates to the book in some way, because there's like a chess piece, a crown, there's a big key, a ballerina, roses. So yeah. So it says here, Avery Grams has a plan for a better future, survive high school, win a scholarship, and get out. But her luck changes in an instant when billionaire Tobias Hawthorne dies and leaves her virtually his entire fortune. The only catch? Avery must move into his sprawling mansion full of secret passages, riddles, and codes. Unfortunately for Avery, Hawthorne House is also occupied by the family that was just disinherited. This includes the 4 Hawthorne grandsons, dangerous, magnetic boys who grew up with every expectation that one day they would inherit billions. Heir apparent Grayson is convinced that Avery is a con woman and he's determined to take her down. But his brother Jameson views her as their grandfather's last hurrah, a twisted riddle, a puzzle to be solved. Caught in a world of wealth and privilege with danger around every turn, Avery will have to play the game herself just to survive. And I know there's 2 other books in this series, and I believe there's a 4th one coming out. There isn't really a specific order that I plan on reading these books. Obviously, the first one will be Belladonna at Bellstone because I've already started reading it. But a lot of these books I feel like are very similar genres, like suspense, mystery kind of books. So honestly, if I get tired of the whole mystery genre, I might swap out one of the books at some point and switch it with one of the other books up here. I was thinking of Love in the Time of Cholera just to add maybe another romance and maybe swap out one of the books. But for the most part, I really want to read all 5 of these books. So I think I'm going to stick with this TBR. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, subscribe, comment down below, turn on notifications so you get notified whenever I post a video. These are the 5 books on my August TBR. Again, this is the first time I'm actually making a TBR and having a comprised list of books that I want to read. Again, I'm mainly a mood reader. I just pick up a book and I'm like, yeah, I want to read this one and just read it. So I'm hoping this will, I guess, somewhat help me with my book slump. If not, I try something new. I also like being organized, so having a set list of books that I'm reading and having an expectation of knowing what I'm reading next, I kind of like that. Instead of looking at my bookshelf and being like, I don't know what to read next, you know? But yeah, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to reading these books, continuing this one and finishing it and reading all these. I look forward to reading these books, updating you guys on Instagram, these next few videos, updating you guys on my progress, maybe even having some videos reviewing the books that I read for my August TBR. And I'm just really hoping that I can get out of the book slump and read more than these 5 books, because that would be really nice. But other than that, I hope you guys have a great day, a great night, wherever you are, whatever time you're watching this video. I will see you guys in my next video.